Hey, this is Chris from Orpheus Omega, and you're listening to Collision on Voice FM. Hello, Chris speaking.
Hi, Chris. It's Kat.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad.
Oh, that's good. So, how are things going with you guys? Can I ask actually first when the album Partum Vita Mortem was actually released?
Yeah, sure. When was it now? It's a while ago, I guess. July 24th was the official release of it last year.
All right.
And we started touring on it, I guess, the week after that.
And you're still, at the moment, touring. So you've been just touring Australia, or have you been overseas?
Just at the moment for the start of the cycle for this album, we've been doing Australia. So we've done about 25 shows all up since we started it. It's been a pretty spread out tour, but basically we really wanted to sort of capitalize on being able to promote each show individually instead of just sort of throwing the dates out there and maybe having a few shows not quite get as much focus as they needed.
Yeah, well, you've got one coming up in Ballarat that's certainly going to get noticed because you're supporting Psycroptic.
Yeah, that's going to be an awesome show. I always love playing with those dudes. And Psycroptic headlining. We've got Colossus as well, who we've played some shows with over the last 6 months. They're absolutely fantastic. And then Athena's Wake from Geelong. Those guys are awesome, and they've just released a new song a couple of months back as well. So
right,
yeah, it's going to be a pretty hectic show, and it's our first time in Ballarat, so we're just excited to get up there, really.
Well, you couldn't have come with much better lineup, I'm telling you. It's like having
definitely
metal royalty in town with this lineup.
Oh, well, if there's any lineup that you sort of need to get down to and basically just get, physically yourself in the pit for like the entire time, that's the one to go with.
Yeah, definitely. But you've done a couple of other shows.
Yeah, well, we literally just finished those last couple. Was it Perth a week and a half ago? Yeah. And then Soil Work last week as well in Melbourne. So
yeah. Well, like, I was at that show, and you were...
Oh, awesome.
You were awesome.
Thanks so much.
How many, is Soilwork probably the biggest support you've had so far, or have you had others like that?
I guess they'd be up there. We've been really lucky. We've definitely got a lot of our bucket list in terms of our influences that we've played with. We got to do the national tour with Dark Tranquillity a couple of years back. We had Children of Bodom in Melbourne. We did the national support with them on a Marth a few years ago. So we've been lucky. We've played through it with a fair few bands that have been, I guess, of the caliber that have been, quite influential to our style of music and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's definitely one of the bigger ones, though.
Well, I've noticed too, actually, you guys, you like to hold little competitions because at the moment you've got one for a free beanie and a CD.
Yep.
But what was this one that you had going about choosing the fighter? Is that two of the guys from the band in that video?
Oh, right. I guess between shows and prac and all that sort of thing, we're pretty silly guys. I mean, we like to just basically mess around and do stupid stuff. So I guess we had an idea for a T-shirt that was basically like our band members and the crew that we usually have, because we have a pretty permanent crew that we use for like photos, lights, sound and all that sort of thing. And we decided to make sort of like a select screen from like Street Fighter or Tekken or something like that, but with all of our characters on it. And we thought it would be a really cool idea if anyone who pre-ordered the T-shirt then sort of got to vote towards who would win each round. So we did like 9 rounds or something like that, and it culminated into a funny little video of Matt and Joao getting at it with each other, and Joao ended up being the winner of it. So, yeah, apparently Joao is Mr. Popular in the band.
Did he actually win anything, though, other than the fight?
Not really.
No.
I think that's more than enough. I don't think we're nice enough to each other to give each other some form of award for that.
Well, can I ask actually, because you and your brother are both in the band, so did you start the band together or? Sort
of, yeah. I mean, Matt and I were in a band before this for a while. And that's like the first band we ever started. And Joao and I met at university, actually, and we decided to start Orpheus together. And when it sort of came down to sort of looking at members and stuff, Matt was the obvious choice. At least for me, Matt and I have been writing together since Matt started playing drums. And I guess there's just that sort of like, symbiotic kind of like relationship when we write music. So Matt was definitely the first and only drummer of the band, but I guess that kind of just happened organically as well.
Yeah, so did you guys come from a musical family?
Sort of, yeah. Our dad plays guitar a fair bit, and that influenced me earlier on. No one in the family really plays drums, I think. I kind of forced Matt into that one. Because, you play guitar, you got to have someone to hold some time for you.
Yeah.
But I guess, we have, like my uncles and stuff listen to heavy music and all that sort of thing. So it was definitely there earlier on for us to sort of get into it. But I guess in terms of like playing instruments and stuff, there's only a couple of other members in the family who are really sort of actual musicians.
Right. Well, speaking about what influenced you to get in it, because I was actually going to ask where the metal influence came from, but you already answered that.
There you go.
The album is it's a journey from birth to death.
Yep.
what inspires your writing? Like, do you write for an album, or do you write tracks on their own occasionally, or?
I guess both now. With the first two albums, it was more track by track and then sort of, trying to get a cohesion between all the tracks. Mm-hmm. With this album, Joel actually came up with the concept about a year before we were sort of writing the album, actually. And effectively, the idea was basically really spawned from all the stuff that we'd gone through as a band in that time. And unfortunately, just before our second album released, our bass player passed away. And, he was not only our bassist, he was a close friend of ours, he was effectively family. So sort of dealing with that between the second album and then writing the third one was, a massive journey in itself. And that, along with everything else that was going on with our personal lives at the time, it kind of made sense to write an album that sort of, I guess, reflected that. And then at the same time, I guess we wrote it in a way that, it wasn't sort of blunt, like, oh, this is about this thing. It's very much about the journeys we all go through as people in our lives. Like, we may have different circumstances and different decisions and things that come up in different issues, but at the same time, we all feel the same way. We all go through the same things. We all grieve. We all smile. We're all happy. We're all sad. We all go through these emotions in our lives. And it was sort of, I guess, the idea for the album was to try to convey that both musically across the 13 songs and also lyrically as well.
Right. And, that's actually a piece of information I didn't come across, and I don't know the bass player's name that passed away. Adam. So then Adam has been a strong influence throughout this album for you, sort of dedicated it to him in a way?
Yeah, definitely for us in the way we feel about it. I know it definitely is for myself and the others, I guess, and everyone's got their own sort of way of dealing with it, and I think this album was a big part of being able to deal with that. And the thing is, Milky's influence on the band, and even our first keyboardist, Sasha, who's no longer a part of the band, everyone's influence, everyone who's been a part of this band will continue to be a part of it, even without being there. We've learned something from each other as people, and you don't unlearn that. So their influence and their input and what they put forward to us as people stays on with us as we continue. So as long as this band goes on for, they'll be in it too.
Yeah, and another thing that surprises me about Orpheus Omega is you guys seem to be achieving an awful lot and getting really good supports and making a name for yourself, but you appear to be extremely independent.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, only recently we've sort of, I guess, been lucky enough to really branch out in terms of support with overseas stuff and all that. With this album, we signed to Colony Records in Italy, and they've been an absolute great help. But I guess for the most part, we are pretty independent people anyway. So we're self-managed, we're self-funded and all that sort of thing. And we just like to be in control of stuff. And at the same time, it's always nice to have external influences and, I guess, ideas thrown at you that we can sit there and go, oh, I didn't think of that, or that'd be great, let's do that. But at the same time, we like to keep the final say with us, and we like to treat the band, I guess, while we treat it as something that we want to continue to grow and as a business as well as it is, just a hobby and all that sort of thing, we need to enjoy it. So I think having a level of independence and control over the project keeps it fun, because you don't want it to become something that you kind of feel becomes work, or someone else is kind of really at the helm and you're just doing what they need. Yeah. So I guess that's something that stayed with us and we would like to keep in future as well.
Oh, no, awesome. I mean, it's good that you've gotten these contacts over in Europe, because I guess you're looking at heading to Europe pretty soon.
Absolutely, yeah. That's definitely next on the plate. That's sort of what we're trying to work out at the moment, what's going to work out best for us in terms of being able to go over there, and whether it's doing some shows on our own, supporting another band, or whatever comes our way. We're sort of working through that at the moment, because I guess that's, that's the next logical step. We love playing in Australia, but you can only do it for so long if you want to expand and grow from there. So, and you look at all the other bands at the moment who are really sort of killing it overseas, like King Parrot and the Oblivious Scars and stuff like that. Those dudes are really putting in the time overseas to really make sure that when they come back here, that momentum just continues back and forth. And I think that's something that's really important.
Yeah, it is, definitely. And can I ask then, as part of the band, are any of you involved in personally doing the artwork and stuff like that?
Yeah, not so much artwork. With the artwork, we tend to go external. We had Nicholas Sundin from Dark Tranquility do all the artwork for this album.
Right.
I run a little recording studio here in Melbourne called Monolith Studios, so I did all the recording and all that. We were going to track it ourselves and then send it overseas for mixing, but I guess given how, I don't know, maybe how detailed we were with what we wanted out of this album, the guys were pretty keen to just sort of do it in-house so that we had more control over it, and I guess really created the album that we wanted and what we wanted to hear by the end of it. So maybe on the next one that might change, but this time around I basically did all the audio side of the album.
So following up from the question about independence, you recorded and mixed this album yourselves?
Yep.
You've done a very good job of that.
Oh, thank you very much.
Do you do that for other people too? I guess you do. I've heard of Monolith Studios, so...
Yeah, it's definitely something I enjoy doing. It's good fun being able to work with other bands.
So
it seems interesting for me.
At the moment, is like music is your day job? You are making a living?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, no, that's cool. And it gives
absolutely.
Gives you freedom to be able to go to Europe.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly it. Like, it was never the case originally. I mean, I have a degree in computer science, and I started doing web design and all that sort of thing. And as fun as that was, I don't know. I guess music in general is realistically that's my life. You know, it's all I do. I mean, you know, I'm in 2 bands at the moment. I'm doing the audio stuff, and I guess when I'm like not doing any of that stuff, I'm probably just sitting down having a drink, listening to music anyway. So, it kind of just made sense for me to go down that route.
Okay, now I've got 2 questions in my head.
Go for it.
Did you design the website?
We had a mate do the graphic design for it because I suck at graphic design. So she kind of put together a whole bunch of the images and all that sort of thing, and I basically just did the programming side of it because that's the boring stuff.
Right.
And I'm good at the boring stuff.
And 2 bands. Who's your other band?
I actually just recently joined I the Enemy from Melbourne. So.
Right. As a singer?
No, as a guitarist. Sort of what I originally just used to do back in my old band. So it's nice to be able to do that again, especially with a bunch of dudes that we've been friends with for many years now, and they've they've really started picking up again. They had a bit of a I guess not so much a hiatus, but they sort of had a big break between albums, and now it's sort of really catching on again. They went overseas last year they actually went to Asia with Fleshgod Apocalypse and the Other Viscaris for a bit too. So.
Right, yeah. And you just can't help yourself. You get bored if you're not playing music. Pretty
much. and at the same time, like, I guess with Orpheus, you know, I guess like it's I'll say quote unquote, it's my baby, so to speak. So it's nice to be able to sort of join a band that I don't have to be as full on with, where I can just sort of just play my instrument and do that. So it's just nice to get away. As much as I think no matter how much you can enjoy something, you can't do it all the time. You kind of just need some little outlets as well. So even with Orpheus, it's the same thing. And if I wasn't playing in I the Enemy, I'd probably just be diddling on my guitar, playing, you know, some of my own stuff and whatnot.
I was going to ask actually about going from being just a guitarist as you were to being the vocalist, and that's pretty heavy duty work on your vocal cords and that you do. So did you have singing lessons, or what have you done to make sure you don't ruin your voice?
Look, that's definitely a big one, because like I feel like I'm constantly having to work on that, not only between making sure I warm up properly, doing singing lessons and vocal warm-ups and vocal practice. I mean, it's a full-time job in itself doing that, and like that's the one thing everything else I like really feel like it's like, yeah, that's just part and parcel with it. But like any other guitarist vocalist, like I feel for them. It's not easy. I think it's just sort of after a while it just becomes second nature. Like it never really becomes something, at least I don't think it's something that becomes easy. But I think it just sort of becomes becomes a bit more natural to do after a while. I guess with this album, because we've introduced some clean vocals as well, that's just another challenge for me to have to work through, I guess.
So you're doing the heavy and the clean vocals on it?
Yeah, in terms of the album recording stuff, I'm doing both of them. Live, I'm doing sort of both. Nathan and I, we both, like, there's harmonies and all that during the cleans, then we'll do them together and all that sort of thing. So everyone's getting really hands-on with the vocals on this album. Kesik's doing backup screams and main screams on some parts, and Nathan and I are doing the clean back and forth, and it's pretty much all hands on deck this time around, so they all get to feel my pain. Good fun.
Well, no, it's good to share the load, because you don't want to ruin your voice either.
I think I've always enjoyed bands where I guess multiple members do vocals as well, where like if there's parts that are vocal heavy on the album, they get represented live. Maybe not, one for one, but at least enough that it feels like it's representing what was put on the album. So I guess one thing with us when we did sort of introduce more layers of vocals was, are we going to be able to pull it off live? And from there, it was just a matter of, well, we're going to have to. So then everyone sort of started getting involved in, doing vocals and all that sort of thing.
Well, what about the lyric writing and that? That's your job, I guess. Did that come easy to you, or is that something you had to work on?
Lyrics is mostly Joao and I, actually. Joao probably does as much lyrics as I do. I don't know, I guess it depends. When it comes to lyrics, like, Joao's very introspective and I guess a bit, like, metaphorical in the way he writes, whereas I'm very much like a storyteller. So I guess if I'm passionate about something or I've got a really good idea in mind, then I can write about it forever. But I guess there's a difference between sort of just writing and then trying to come up with the right words to describe it, but then also make it interesting for the listener as well. So as much as it's easy to get ideas, it's also really hard to sort of find that balance of saying something without saying something.
Yeah. It sounds to me like Orpheus Omega are independent, but as like internally you're a really strong, tight team.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely couldn't be more happy or proud of the group of people I get to work with. Like, you know, they're literally the best guys I've been able to work with and write music with and hang out with. So I guess that's important. Sort of having that bond outside of the band and being close means that when we are in a band situation, it's second nature as opposed to trying to work towards something that may not be a unified goal. So we've always worked very hard on sort of being very close as a group of people first, because again, it's that whole thing of not wanting to treat it like a job. You know, we want to be able to get together and feel like, oh, hey, it's good to see you and hang out and do this thing that we enjoy together, because otherwise I don't think it's something that can last over a long period of time.
Yeah. Can I ask then, like, is the plan to keep working Partum Vita Mortem until you go to Europe, or are you working on another album?
We're kind of always working on another album, but this is probably the longest period we've gone without straight up writing just because we've been so busy. But we've definitely all sort of started getting back into the groove of doing some writing. So while we sort of set up more touring stuff, we're definitely going to be doing more writing, maybe getting some more merch and stuff together, and maybe doing a few shows in Australia as well. But we're always doing something. That's the thing. Even you know, behind the scenes, there's always some cogs turning and someone's doing something. So definitely very much so.
Well, you are, as we said earlier, coming to Ballarat in support of Psycroptic, and you have Colossus and Athena's Wake opening, and you're the main support. I've seen your show, and it was very energetic and, you know, I was going to say enthralling.
Awesome.
What would you say to people, though, in Ballarat who you want to come and see your show?
Definitely. Well, I mean, aside from the fact that all the bands on that bill are absolutely awesome, I guess in terms of our show, if you haven't seen us before, you know, we probably put as much, if not more energy than almost any crowd that we can work with. Like, we're the kind of band that, you know, we take our music seriously, but we want to have fun on stage. We want to be able to make sure that the fun that everyone's having in the crowd gets reflected by us as well. So if there's anyone in Ballarat who wants to come down and actually get involved, you know, have some fun with us and have a good time, then definitely the set you need to check out.
Get the mosh pit going. Absolutely. Is there anything that you want to say, getting them to check out your band, get hold of the new album?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all I really want to say is to everyone who's already got the album and seen us and supported us, thank you very much. And anyone who hasn't, grab the album. It's awesome. Like, I would hate to say that about my own stuff, but I actually think it is awesome. So you should totally check it out. And come check us out in Ballarat, because it's definitely one of the best lineups that we've been a part of. So come down and check it out.
Yeah, I'll slip that question in then quickly. I think actually more bands nowadays are admitting to it than used to, but do you listen to this album?
You know what? The first two albums I didn't, not because I didn't like them, but I don't know, it's something about it felt uncomfortable, and I guess I just never, I love playing those songs live from the first two albums, but I guess listening back to them, I don't know, maybe something didn't hit me the way it should have when we were writing it. But with this one, yeah, like on occasion I'll chuck on a couple of the songs, and perhaps because I guess there's a little more emotion and connection involved in what went into those songs. But I really do think they're by far the best songs I've ever written. Like, even during a live set, there's some staple old songs that I just love playing. But every time we get to one of the songs from Partum Vita Mortem, it's something about it that just hits me like every time. So I do on occasion listen to it, but I'm probably not that often, given that we're playing it as often as we do.
No, I think it's, bands used to always say, no, I don't listen to my own music, but it's like, well, why would you want other people to listen to it if you
I
won't?
totally agree. I totally agree. And I think that's only something I sort of picked up on by doing this album, where it was like, I really want to listen to this. Like, maybe not that much, but like, I want to hear this and I want to listen back to it just as music. And I think that's also like the fact that everyone in the band now is pretty much equally writing together. It's not just like most people write a song or this and that. It's very much a group effort. And if I feel like I really want to listen to it, then that you would assume other people do too. Like, if I don't want to listen to it, then what's going to make someone else listen to it? It's like, oh, I really love your album. I don't know why you love it, but cheers. Like, you should know to yourself what's good about it, at least enough to be able to appreciate why someone else likes it. Because otherwise it's going to be like, well, what parts of your album made you want to write it and commit to that? I guess it's that sort of thing.
Awesome. No, that's good to know. And I will tell people that you are on Facebook, facebook.com/Orpheus Official.
That's it.
And you've got a website, orpheusofficial.com, which is...
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Links to your Twitter and your YouTube and your Instagram.
Yeah, it's all there.
Do you actually have any official videos out for any of the songs?
We do. We have 2 videos for Partum Vita Mortem at the moment. We've got one for Karma Favors of the Week and one for Tomorrow's Fiends and Yesterday's Ghosts. And what the cool thing is about those two is it's actually a 3-part story, and we haven't finished the last one yet, so we're not going to give away what song comes last. But effectively, if you watch Karma Favors of the Week all the way through to the end of Tomorrow's Spins and Yesterday's Ghost, it's one continuous story arc.
Right. See, now you just stopped me from asking my next question, which was going to be, what's the third track going to be? But you're not giving that away yet.
Yeah, not giving that away yet.
And you will be in Ballarat at Corova Lounge with Psycroptic on the 12th of March.
Yep, can't wait.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It's been great talking to you.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it greatly.
And it was really good seeing you with Soilwork at 170 Russell, but I definitely...
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I look forward to seeing you at Corova Lounge too.
Yeah, we definitely can't wait. Like I said, first time in Ballarat, so I'm stoked.
I think anyone who is even the slightest bit into metal is going to try and be at this gig.
I hope so. I definitely hope so.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you again and have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Bye.